Hello and welcome back to Scoop with Coop. I'm of course Coop, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals, and in that game, the San Antonio Spurs, reeling from losing Game 2 at home, fall short against the Oklahoma City Thunder in a score that ended up being 123 to 108. And to start off this game, the Spurs were on fire. They were dominating the Thunder. They went up to a 15-point lead in the first quarter, and that lead was a 15-0 run. Yeah, the Spurs went out off the gate and immediately started firing. Devin Vassell was on fire at the start of the game. He hit 2 3-pointers. Victor Wembanyama, he was able to get his shots up to start off this game. And I think what happened in that stretch really shows what makes this Spurs team good. Whenever you get the creation around Victor Wembanyama, whenever you get the help alongside him and allow him to be a rim runner slash Wemby, you know what, you're Wemby, you can do whatever you want, as long as you get those types of plays around him, where, for example, he was on an island against, I believe it was Chet Holmgren, and he lit Chet up, I'm not going to lie. And whenever you get those moments with Wembanyama, you see the way that this Spurs team work, right? You have the perimeter players who are creating turnovers and hustling. Most notably, Devin Vassell and Stephon Castle. They were both tenacious defenders to start this game, both of which combined ended up leading for 5 steals and 2 blocks between the two of them. And in this, right, you see the Thunder claw back. You see the Thunder start making some shots. You see Jalen Williams, not J-Dub, Jalen Williams, go 5 for 6 from the 3-point line. You see Alex Caruso drop 15. You see Jared McCain drop 24. And you see Cason Wallace drop 11. This bench unit for the Thunder is significantly better than the Spurs. And that's not a surprise. But it is quite surprising how much so, because for the bench players for this Spurs team, right? You have Keldon Johnson. He was terrible in this game. Negative 23 plus minus in 12 minutes. Bad. He was just bad in this game. Carter Bryant. Not great. Not great. He needs to learn that you can't pump fake, or you can't jump from pump fakes, because a lot of times SGA was just getting him up in the air and leaning in and doing his usual antics, which I'll get onto SGA here in this video. You get Luke Cornett. I think he played terribly. I mean, 4 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist, yet 2 turnovers, and a negative 18. Dylan Harper, he definitely looked hurt. He looked like that adductor injury mattered, because he was not the same athlete. His finishing wasn't there. He didn't get as high on his jumps whenever he'd go to finish. He just didn't play a good game of basketball, and he ended up with a negative 13. And I think when you look at this, right, I'll start off with SGA, right? He's the reigning MVP, and he's the best player on this Thunder team. He led the team in scoring, and he had 12 free throws. And in multiple instances of him getting to the free throw line, was he would get someone out of the air, or he would get someone out of position, and he'd get them in the air, and he would just lean into him, and that would get called a foul. Yes, it is a foul. But then on the other hand, you have him arm barring people to the point where to get on a closeout, they have to just jump so egregiously high. After committing an offensive foul, then leans in to initiate the contact. That's where the inconsistency in officiating comes into play. If you want to be strict on the defensive end, cool, but make sure it's the same way on the offensive end, right? I think they cleaned up some of the Wemby stuff, where you just don't have Wembanyama's arm getting hooked everywhere. I think they cleaned that up. But make sure to be consistent with it. At a couple of points, it looked like San Antonio was getting the benefit in some of the calls, But when you look at some of the calls they were getting, yeah, no duh. Stephon Castle was getting annihilated. And this narrative, at least that is very prevalent about the Oklahoma City Thunder being dirty, this game didn't help. It didn't help when he's up in the air twice that you have, I believe it was Cason Wallace and Alex Caruso just shoving him when he's in the air, just flat out shoving him, right? He's in the air. It's a dangerous play. It's how players get hurt. And it is a dirty play, right? You get Lou Dort, right? And it's always been a joke. Lou Dort's going to take out your team's best player. Kind of did. I mean, he took out De'Aaron Fox. Now, he came back into the game, and it was clear that he was laboring, but he had no reason diving for that loose ball. It was so clearly gone. I mean, I have no doubt that, like, Lou Dort is a dirty player, and that isn't news. It isn't. I mean, you can find compilations on Twitter. You can find compilations on YouTube. He is a dirty player. But when you have other players doing the same thing and fighting so hard about how, look, ref, he's fouling me, and it cuts to something where it's not as big of a foul as it is being a dirty player and doing dirty things. So I think that, did Oklahoma City play dirty in this game? Genuinely, at points, yes, they did at points. But I also think that calling things ethical or not, I don't buy into that, because if you're telling me I can get away with some stuff, I'm going to do it. Are you kidding me? If I'm SGA and I can get my defender out of position and I can get 2 free throws, absolutely I'd do it. Are you kidding me? Especially on a night when he's not shooting the ball too well and only goes 6 for 17, 100% I'm doing that. So I'm not going to fault SGA. I'm just going to fault the officiating in letting this happen. I don't like blaming the game on officiating, because that isn't what decided this game, but I just think that was the first thing that stuck out to me in the course of watching this game, where it's like, for sequences such as when the Thunder challenged a ball that went off of the Thunder, they call Wembanyama for hooking Jalen Williams' arm, which he did, right? 100%. But in the same frame, you see Hartenstein with both arms grabbing Luke Cornett. So it's like, is that not called? It's just the inconsistency in the way that things look at, because I don't think the league is. I don't buy into the narrative that it's rigged. I don't think that's the case. I think that it is just, officiating is so subjective and quick, and when you only have 2 challenges, I mean, I think that's something that needs to change. And again, I don't want to take away from Oklahoma City. They played a phenomenal game of basketball, right? I was worried how they would react on the defensive end without Jalen Williams. They responded phenomenally. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was a great defender in this game. AJ Mitchell, great defender. Hartenstein, he played a good game of basketball. All right, let's list off the role players who I think played a good game. Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, Jared McCain, Isaiah Joe, I think he played well in his minutes that he got. So, I mean, it's clear that a lot of the Thunder are a deeper team, 100%, and the bench points have been a blowout all year. I believe the Thunder's bench had 75 points. Yeah, they were that good. The Thunder's bench and depth is so much better, and when you compare that to the Spurs' depth, that is just truly pitiful, where it's like, you have the 6th man of the year who's unplayable in playoff games. You have Carter Bryant, who he's more of a gimmick than a true lockdown threat. Because at points, he will just get beat on fouls. Like, in 10 minutes, he had 3 fouls. You have Dylan Harper, who's clearly hurt. You have Luke Cornett, where he's fine as maybe a 5-minute-per-game player, not, hey, you're after Wemby, man. Make sure to lock down the paint. That just doesn't work. I don't think realistically, this Spurs team, they need to do everything perfectly, and they haven't the last 2 games, and they haven't won as a result of that. Right? And at the forefront of this Spurs team not performing, it's Victor Wembanyama, right? He was only held to 26 points and 4 rebounds. And what I think is very noticeable about those 4 rebounds is he finished with 0 offensive rebounds. Because when you compare Victor Wembanyama's rebounding numbers earlier on in this series, where when you look at last game, he finished with 5 offensive rebounds, and that was down from 9, I believe, in game 1. I just want to fact check real quick. But the rebounding battle that was won by the Spurs in game 1 and what led to so many second chance opportunities, second chance points, it was 9. Where you see the Spurs get off of their rhythm and off their spot is because of the rebounding discrepancy. And in turn, that affects Victor Wembanyama because if you don't have second chance looks, you don't catch the defense out. You don't have opportunities to attack mismatches. You don't have those opportunities. And that's where Wembanyama thrives. And then speaking of Wembanyama, they just made him be a shooter. And he's cool at that, but they were building a brick wall in front of him and they were just saying, perimeter guys, we're going to make you beat us. And they didn't, right? I've listed off the 3-point percentages for these guys, and just to reiterate, I'll list off how they shot, right? Champagnie, he's been terrible from 3 this series, 2 for 8. Wembanyama, 2 for 5. Fox, 1 for 6. Vassell, good. 3 for 6. Castle, 1 for 5. Keldon Johnson, 1 for 4. Carter Bryant, 1 for 2. Harper, 1 for 3. Like, you can't shoot 32% from the 3-point line and expect to beat a Thunder team who's shooting 45. Like, that just isn't going to happen. It just doesn't work that way. And you got to be able to make your 3-pointers because that allows for Wembanyama to get more space where the Thunder are going to attack closeouts harder. And when that's not working, you're perfectly comfortable with putting 2 on Wemby. And that's why he's slowed down the past 2 games, is because the role players haven't stepped up, right? And speaking of role players stepping up, Jared McCain, right? He had a career high in points in a playoff game. Jalen Williams, he had a career high for points in a playoff game. So you see the role players stepping up. Alex Caruso, 15 points, plus 28 in this game. Like, what I think is crazy is the starters for this Thunder team aren't that good. Only Shai had a positive plus minus. Only Shai. Nobody else was even at 0. The best was Chet Holmgren, and he, aside from 2 dunks, didn't really impress me with anything he did. His defensive impact wasn't that great. AJ Mitchell, he 1 for 5. Lou Dort, I mean, he only attempted 1 shot and he bricked it. Other than that, he didn't do anything. Hartenstein, he was cool, I guess. He had some nice passes, but this depth is what's really massacring the Spurs team. And the 5-out ability that this Thunder squad can go to just kills the Spurs. Because if you want to play Victor Wembanyama as a roamer, you don't have numbers. Someone's going to be left open. And that's what's happened. Is you get shooters open and they make their shots more often, extremely more often than the Spurs. Like, this Thunder team is a much deeper team. Much deeper. And that's what makes the difference. Right? The Spurs have a better starting lineup, and I don't think it's close. It's the depth. That is the glue that holds this Thunder team together. And I think that is 100% a credit to Mark Daigneault and his way to adapt. I think he coached a phenomenal game compared to Mitch Johnson, who I don't think coached a phenomenal game. I think at some points you have to find a way to get Wemby out on the perimeter. And when you did that, he played better. When you did that, you allowed him to get a full head of steam going into the basket. When you have him coming off the screens, he looked better. I think that there's going to have to be some serious adjustments made because this formula isn't working anymore. It worked for game 1, and I don't want to say that it was a gimmick or anything of the sort, but you won game 1 in double overtime, in which you needed one of the greatest performances that a player has ever had. That's a bit concerning. I'm not saying that this Spurs team isn't good, because they are. They are a good team, and this team can go on runs. And any time that they do, they seem to sub Wemby off. Instead of once the run fizzles, get him off. That just seems to be the one thing that's a little bit questionable to me. I think that the without Wemby minutes are obviously going to be they're going to be terrible. But if you can't survive without him out there, that is a roster construction problem. And again, this is a young team. I don't want to make it seem like just ban the franchise. No, I still think this Spurs team could very much come back and win this series. I don't view it as over as I, quite frankly, view the Cavaliers, how I think they should already get their flights booked for Cancun. I think that this is going to be a 7-game series. I think this is going to be a phenomenal series. It has been a phenomenal series. And I don't like how I have to start off this video being all negative, but I think that is what has been the most prevalent to me. And so just getting into the small, more like breakdown stuff here. SGA, when he is doubled, he is so much better than he was in game one. He's quick with his decisions. He's decisive. He is getting the ball out of his hands, and it's being executed perfectly. They're making shots, right? Jalen Williams, what a way to attack a closeout. Alex Caruso, when you are on the court, it is the most like disturbing thing that can happen to a team because you are everywhere, right? You're everywhere. You're attacking everybody. Should kind of be a crime with how much pesting you do. Like, there should be a no solicit sign, and that would neutralize you because you solicit everyone. You are the most annoying player. And I mean that in a completely positive way. And I know that is a negative connotation to it, but it is meant in the most positive way possible, I promise. Jared McCain, you are showing and proving Philly wrong for trading you. You have played phenomenal this series. Cason Wallace, your defense has been phenomenal. And I think this Thunder team, they played phenomenal again this game. They have the momentum. They do have one more game in San Antonio. And I do think San Antonio could win that game because looking at how Victor Wembanyama left game 3, he looked even more mad than game 2. And I think he's out to kill next time. I don't think he's out to win. I think he's out to kill. So I'd be a little bit concerned about that. I also want to see Kelly Olynyk get more minutes simply because they need to get someone there who's going to like not play good defense, but he's going to foul hard. And you know what? That's something the Thunder did take advantage of, fouling hard. They did have one flagrant in this game. Could have been a couple more on a couple more instances, but 100% getting hard fouls is a key cog of playoff basketball. And the Spurs don't really have anyone who's willing to do that. I think Kelly Olynyk would be willing to do it based off of what he did to Kyrie Irving. Or no, Kevin Love in the 2015 playoffs. So I think that this Spurs team, they need to get better contributions from their depth. I wish that Dylan Harper was healthy because I think he is such a massive part of what makes this team go. And I want Keldon Johnson to get his shot back because, let's face it, it's cool. He's the 6th man of the year. Like, show it. Show us why you are the 6th man of the year in the biggest moments because not everyone is watching the regular season. Everyone is watching now. This is one of the most viewed series ever. And this has been an absolutely phenomenal series. Game 3 goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder, 123-108. Let me know in the comments who you got for Game 4 and for the rest of the series. You got OKC? You got San Antonio? Let me know. This is The Scoop with Coop, and until next time, so long, everybody.